in Tuxedo. Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to another Secret Beach Typhoon. I'm Jason. I'll be your not host for this evening. I guess I'm the host. Debbie is the star. Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
Tonight it's a Typhoon on Debbie's How I Started Selling Books Online. Now, like I am with tiki mugs and CDs, Debbie is with books. And not only has Debbie sold books for a long, long time, she helps a library set up book sales. So I've touched millions of CDs. Debbie's touched millions of books. So you can't have a better expert than that. So hi, Debs.
Hi.
I will say, Debbie got me last night. She really hoodwinked me. She said, I said, how many slides you got ready? And she said, what'd you say, 300 and
380.
Yeah, 380. And I'm like, oh my. I did the rockabilly with like 178. And she goes, no, I'm just kidding. I have like 62.
At that time I did. If I had a couple more days, I'd probably have 1,000. There's so many good BOLOs out there.
You pulled one over on me.
Yay!
You got me, girl. All right, but I know I only check a few sections when I go to the bookstore or the book section, Deb. I look at the cookbooks and the music books and usually the art books. And if it's a store that would allow adult stuff, I find the adult section. But other than that, I don't look too much. But I know every week when you host with me, you're like, ta-da, look at this book.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't check a whole lot either because the fiction is useless, pretty much.
I was going to say, you can just skip fiction for the most part.
And if they have it in biography and mystery, and those are all penny books. So children's, sometimes history, maybe arts and crafts, cookbooks. So it's kind of, and religious, the religion section. So yeah, there's a whole lot of books that I think only like 10% are worth anything. Now with fiction, if I can get a whole set, like a Jeanette Oakey set or Kingsbury, you know, if you have an author, there's like 10 of their books, then I might buy those if they're cheap enough.
Yeah. When you get to groups, it's a little bit of a different story. But when you just see those racks and racks and racks of the paperbacks that, you know, you read in the 80s and the 90s, there's so many of them because like popular CDs, they sold in the millions.
Right.
So because you know the titles, probably most of the time, not the stuff you're gravitating towards, you know, Flowers in the Attic was sold 10 million times.
Yeah. And my poor kids, I abused my kids raising them up, going in thrift stores, because back then I didn't know, so I had to scan everything. And now I can walk in and pretty much look around and know I'm not going to waste my time there. And I might be missing over a few, but my time is valuable too. So.
All right, well, let's dive in because it's that rare time where I get to sit back and relax and not have to entertain and let you entertain tonight. And I'm gonna take notes.
Okay, so how I started selling. I was a homeschool mom, and I would go to these. We had end of year curriculum sales, and I would walk in the room they rented. There might be 100 of us moms all there. And I'm like, where do they get all these books? This is crazy. They can't use all these in their homeschool. So one day I was at a thrift store and I knelt down and I put my hands down to steady myself on these two books that I knew were homeschooling books that were worth about $40 each. And they were asking $2. And right then the light bulb went off. I went, they're coming to thrift stores. They're buying books and reselling at these curriculum sales. So that's how I started selling. I started, there are Yahoo groups that I would sell in and homeschool groups. A big one was Veg Source. Some of you might still be using that if you're homeschoolers. So I would sell on these groups. I'd have checks coming in the mail from all over the US and mail their books out. And then I started getting into eBay. And it took me a while to get into Amazon because I was kind of afraid of Amazon. So
what year was this, Deb, when you started selling books on eBay? About?
Well, my account says I started in 2002. So probably about back then, I would think. Because we moved to California in 2001, and I was doing the Yahoo groups when we still lived up in Washington. So that was the late 90s. So yeah, it's been a while. And I love books, so it makes it easy.
Yeah, you know, when you love something, it really, really helps.
Yeah. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a book author. Never did that yet. Maybe someday. Okay.
Never too late to start.
Well, yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about some BOLOs. For those who don't know, be on the lookout. And I'm not, obviously I can't give you all of them. So I have a little bit of homework for you at the end. So, okay, let's go to the next one. We'll start with children's and young adults because that is my favorite. And honestly, you know, like you said, I volunteer at our book sale and I see a lot of book scanners. I run into them in the stores. thrift stores, a lot of people don't touch children's. I think that they just don't think there's any money there. And then when I go to garage sales, they're dumped into boxes. You're going to see some that I've pulled out of boxes before. So that's why I like children. Okay, Uncle Remus stories. This one I put in here because probably 12 years ago, I sold a copy of this. A lady wanted to buy it because her new husband, they were senior citizens, and he was her new husband. His grandpa read it to him as a child, and he lost it. So for Christmas, she wanted to buy it when she didn't know how to bid on eBay. So her grandson was home on leave from one of the Iraq or wherever he was, and he bid it up for her, and it sold for about $69. So she sent me a message telling me how special that was. So it still sells. I mean, now this is on auction. It's kind of sad to me to see some of these books, the auction prices, because I think if they did buy it now, they probably would get some more. But some people just like doing auctions. So, okay, next. Alrighty, this was interesting to me. It's Korean picture books. 57 of them sold for $195. I have a set of Korean kids books that are all about U.S. history. And I don't obviously read Korean. I have a friend that might. So this inspired me to get my set up because I probably have about 3/4 of that quantity of them to put all together in a lot. So it was good.
Hey, real quick, Debbie, I have to go do something real quick. So Stacy's going to fill in as as your advancer. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome Stacy to the show.
Hey, Stacy. Everybody knows I have a girl crush on Stacy anyway. Okay, so we're ready to go to the next. Okay, this is our sale. It went through, I think, 2 Christmases. It's a golden Christmas book, 1955, kind of ratty. We only sold for $29, but I only paid about 50 cents for it. And it's international sale. And then at the bottom there you can see, it says belongs to. I always disclose if there's any autographs, if there's any inscriptions, or if someone's name is in there, I always disclose that. They can see it if you, and take a picture of it too, so that people know what they're getting. Okay, next. Alfred Hitchcock. This is another one of ours sold. See how they're scribbling on the pages? People still buy them. The Three Investigators are kind of a set of books I've been looking around watching for years. Sometimes one book in a set will be worth more, but we have these sold them for $34.99. So it wasn't a real big sale, but when you're getting books cheap at book sales or garage sales, $34.99 is not bad. Okay. Uncle Arthur. I love finding these. I've sold over the years maybe 10 or 15 sets of these. What I do is I pick them up. If I don't find a whole set at once, I think there's 10. Yeah, 10 is a set. I'll pick them up even if they're different years. And then when I get a full set, we'll put them together. So there's a set there sold for $89. Somebody else sold their set for $99. And we're going to see another type of this. But Uncle Arthur, they're children's Christian Bible books. They're illustrated, and they were, I'm not sure if they made them past the 50s, 60s, maybe. So they're popular. They're easy to find. I even found a set in Spanish, too. Okay. World Book Encyclopedia. That is the book, the encyclopedia that schools and libraries use. So it's easy to find a set that's been culled out of the library. This time we decided, instead of selling it as a whole set, we probably would have got up maybe 200, plus we were missing, I think, 2 volumes. So we've been selling them individually. And if when we sell them all, probably get more money than we would have had we sold it as a whole set. Oh, I messed up my Spinescape there, got goofed up. So you see the picture on when it's all put together, that's called the Spinescape. And every year, obviously, it's a different picture. So it's a nice keyword to put in there too, because it makes it a really pretty set. I actually had a lady buy 4 volumes because she wanted to spell her new grandson's name. So I gave her a little bit of a break on that. So encyclopedias still do sell. I don't know how many years, if the World Book, like a 2014 or 13, I'm not sure exactly how much how many people want that. And then when you get back into the vintage encyclopedias, I've sold some older sets too. Okay, next. Here's the other Uncle Arthur. Let's see, his name is Arthur Maxwell is the author. It's a mouthload. So this set, look how much it sold for. Bedtime stories. They only had 17 of the 20, and it still sold for $500. And what I love about these books is they're so easy to spot. You can walk into a thrift store, a garage sale, wherever, and when you see those books, you immediately can see them because they're bright, they're colorful, especially when they're put together as a set. So the bedtime story books do sell for more. I've not yet found a complete set, but if I get 4 or 5 together, I'll put those together and maybe get 30, 40, 50 bucks for those too. So always look for those. And of course you want to check all the pages because they can be scribbled in. Okay, next. This is kind of blurry. I put this in here because I'm not sure if it's the exact same one I found. It's a Hobbit book, and about 3 years ago, I was at a garage sale. I only had a split second, and I walked by and I looked in a box and I saw the tail of the dragon. And the Hobbit movie, I think, was getting ready to come out. That caught my eye, and I pulled it out, and it had a special kind of clear dust jacket on it. I paid $3 for it and sold it for $120, just dumped in a box with other books and just stuff, you know, dumped on top of it. So books are everywhere. Okay. Next. Oh, Value Tales. I love these books. Trying to think if that's a complete set. 43 books is a complete set. So they got $290, and this isn't even a complete set. And you've probably seen these out. And this one says that it's mostly first editions. We've had first editions, second editions. We combine them together. The Jacques Cousteau book, I don't believe it's in this set. I didn't see it in there, so I added the photo. That book alone sold for $192. It's very rare. I've never seen one. And I've been selling these Value Tales for several years. They do come in 2 different sizes, bigger and a little bit smaller, and I will combine them together if that's what I find. It's another book where I'll collect. Maybe I'll find 10 somewhere and kind of store them for a little while and see if I can find more. Sadly, I was at an estate sale, and there were, I think I got about 14 for 10 bucks. And I was so excited, I didn't even look inside. I paid and got out of there. And then when I got home, I realized all the glue in the spine was all dried up. So the pages are still together, but they're all falling out of the binding, the hardcover. So I may just, instead of trying to repair that, I may just sell them maybe for 40 bucks or something to try to get my 10 bucks back and see how they do. So Value Tales is another one that you always want to look for. I walked into a Goodwill once, and I think there were maybe 20. I couldn't even carry them all myself. So the Goodwill guy helped me carry them, and the whole set was $14.99. And so I scooped them up, and he helped me carry them. And on the way there, he goes, "Wow, this is a really low price for these books." So that's why I got to the cashier, paid, and got in my car and left, because I knew that was a great sale, a great price. And I think we sold them for about $150. So they're another set that's easy to find. Okay, next. Here's another picture of it, a 38 set of them for $352. And there's sets of Hardy Boys. You can probably figure out by now, I like sets of books. Each book alone is not worth that much on their own, but when you can put a whole bunch of them together, then you can get a better price, you know, for your money. And a lot of times when you find a set somewhere, maybe especially at a garage sale or a thrift store, they don't usually ask for a lot of money for them. Like I said, a lot of people don't realize there's money in books. They may not value them. Maybe they were their kids and their kids are grown and gone. They just want to sell them. So it's fun to see complete, you know, maybe not complete, but a bunch of books together, how much you can get for those. Okay, next. Nancy Drew, same thing. Individually, the books aren't worth a lot, and these are not the vintage ones, because the vintage ones are, I think they're green, some are kind of an oatmeal color. So you want to get a whole bunch put together for a really cheap price to really be able to make any money with these Hardy Boy or Nancy Drew books. And these are the newer ones. Okay, next. Trumpets. I love these books. I've only found, I think, 2 or 3 since I've been looking, because they're rare, they're out of print. That's why they're valued so high. The trumpets, same thing. I was at a garage sale, and it was just sitting in a box with stuff in it. And I reached down, pulled it out, paid 10 cents, and sold it for $75. So these books here are another one to keep an eye out for. They are rare. I think I've only found 2. But you know, you get those in your head, and then you're out somewhere, and then you think, I know what that book is. So they're easy to pull out. Okay, next. Sweet Valley High books. Here's another situation where if you can get a whole bunch together at one time, which I actually did. We were at a garage sale. They were all just packed into a box, and I paid $10 for them. And I think maybe back then, it's been several years, I sold them for maybe like $100 because it wasn't this many, it wasn't 85. So this is another one. I put the front cover so you can kind of identify them. So if you're out garage selling and you see a whole bunch of these, maybe at a book sale, a bag sale, and you can get them, you know, get a whole bunch of them, grab them because you can see that you can get some good money for them. Okay, next. Saddle Club. This is another one where I think through bag sales, I had collected a whole tote of these books. So when I had a bunch of them, put them together, this is not my sale. And these are all like new. You can tell they look really nice. This one sold for $195, and I'm not sure exactly how many books are there total, but I got all the pictures so that you can, 64 books total. So the pony books, the horse books are good, and I'll mix and match them sometimes because there's also Pony Pals. And there's the Mustang books, and there's a lot of different horse books. So sometimes I'll put a whole set of those. Even if they're mix and match, I'll put them together and sell them. So that's $195 for 64 books. So that's not bad. But again, you have to pay, you have to practically steal them to get them to be able to sell. Okay. And these are the R.L. Stine, he author of, I think, Goosebumps. So this is a different type, the Fear Street. $300 for 115 books. Now, obviously, you don't want to buy these if you have to pay $1 each. But if you come up on a whole bunch of them at one time and maybe sit on them for a while, hold them until you find some more, there's some really good money in these paperbacks because I think these are all out of print now. Okay. And then Fear Street Seniors, R.L. Stine, author of Goosebumps, same thing. Now, I've never seen these. There's only 12 books, and they got $165 for them. Now, this, I think, would be easy to come upon at a garage sale. My husband and I went out once to a garage sale. I was blown away. This young kid was selling all his paperback books, and, you know, we paid him what he asked, but we had Goosebumps, we had Animorphs. So sometimes it's easy to come up on a bunch of paperbacks at one time. And this blows my mind, $165 for 12 of these. Okay. Oh, Help Me Be Good books. I've found quite a few of these, and I actually have quite a collection of them because whenever I find them, I pick them up, and then I just keep them, you know, organized. Because sometimes you might find a whole set, but a couple of them they got teeth marks on them or the pages are ripped, so I can swap them out. So they got $129, well, with free shipping for a set. A couple years ago, my husband and I went to take the dogs for a walk at a garage, and there was a garage sale around the corner on a Sunday afternoon, and I paid $10 for a whole set and came home and sold it for $105. So this is another one to keep an eye on. There are two different styles. This is the shiny style. There is an older set of them where they're matte covered. And I've never found a complete set of those. I have some right now that I haven't really checked the price on them lately. So I do my profit piles do have books in them. So sometimes you do just have to hang on to some until you can find more to put together. But these are very, very popular books. And I'm trying to think if this was a set a couple years ago, they republished them, and Costco had them in a box set, and we were like, oh great, there goes that, because they will reprint some books, but sometimes it's very quick. It's a small amount, so it hasn't stopped these books because this is a 1988 set. It hasn't stopped them from selling. And sometimes I've had to buy one or two. I might have 27 books, and then I go on eBay for about $3. I can pick up the one I'm missing, get another one, and put a complete set together. Alrighty. Here's some Hardy Boys, like I was talking about the Nancy Drew. If you can get, they got $249. Complete, well, that set is from 1 to 58. It says complete set. So if you can get the numerical, you know, the 1 through whatever, people really like that too. So $250 for this set of 58 books. Now, Flashlight, you want to check into that because some of the books have different markings on them. And so the flashlight might mean that it's worth more money, because I think I've looked into those before too. So if you see any kind of logos, or when you're doing your research, if a word jumps out to you, look on your book and see, do all these books have a flashlight on them? Because sometimes you can get more money for those. Okay. Left Behind for Kids. This is a religious Christian set of books. You probably are familiar with the adult version of these books. So this is the paperbacks, the set of 40. They got $125 for these. I have sold some of these. I don't think I've ever sold a complete set before, so maybe I might have 1 through 20. And sometimes I don't have all of the numbers, but I still figure out, based on like this price here, how much is each book worth? 125 divided by 40, and then I take that price, multiply it by how many I have, and then I'll go ahead and list them that way. So this is still a popular set, even though they were written several years ago. Okay. And this I've never seen. The Left Behind Young Trip Force. They got $99 for 12 of these books. I've never seen these, so I was excited to learn something too, and stuck these in here. So when you're out and about, you might find those. Okay. Now this is the adult version. And I was surprised by this. There's 16 books there, and they got $80. But I thought these books had died off, because the movie came out several years ago, and we all got excited thinking, oh, good, these books are going to sell well. Well, they didn't. And there's so many of these printed and out there. But when I saw that if I came across 16, I mean, we have a thrift store in town where we can actually get books for free. There's some you have to pay for, and you can get up to 5 for free, and then they ask for a little donation. So seeing this kind of makes me excited to keep an eye out and see if I can find 16 and sell them for $80 plus shipping. So this was a nice surprise for me. Oh, okay. Jelly beans for breakfast. I have never, ever found one of these. I think this one says paperback. I believe there's also a hardback edition. Now, I didn't see any sold on eBay, so I found this set on Amazon. So you can see they're starting at $67. Someone has a new one for $649. It's the illustrator of this book that makes it so popular. I've been looking for like 12 years for a copy of this book, and I've never found one. So definitely keep your eyes open. I believe there's another book similar that kind of the title's is somewhat similar, but it's not the same book. So you want to make sure that you're getting the same one. And if you can see the author's name, it's a little bit of a blurry photo there. But it's definitely 2 different ones. You want this one for sure. If you can find one, good luck. Okay. Okay, here's the Goosebumps. We were talking earlier. This is a complete set. And then I got some collectibles, some extras there. $395 this set sold for on auction. Now, if I had it, I wouldn't auction it. I would just, do my research based on what's sold and then bump my price up. I included a picture. You can kind of see what the front of them looks like. And I do believe these are out of print. They're not printing them anymore. So that R.L. Stine author, all these books I've showed you are The Fear Street and the other one. They're written by this author, and they still bring good money. People still want to, the kids or whoever still wants to read them. So keep your eye out, because again, this is something I think would be pretty easy to find at garage sales and estate sales. In the thrift store, you're going to have to pay more. That's why sometimes thrift stores, they are more expensive. They're going to charge you per book. I know Savers, if you buy, I think it's 5 books, you get 1 free, and still. Thrift stores' prices on books have been really climbing lately, so I love to try to find them at garage sales. Okay. Babysitter Club. It's all these children's chapter books, they're not printing these anymore. Kids still love to read them. So they have, I didn't even count how many are in here, $251 for all of those. And by shopping at bag sales and garage sales, I have been able to put together maybe 40 or 50 of these and sell them. So you can definitely tell how I like to find big bunches of books at one time. So that's another one to keep your eye out. And I think there's a Babysitter Club. I'm not sure of the exact title because I've sold those too. So there's another version of this. Okay. And then this is Pony Pals, when I talked about horses earlier. They have 38 books. And then a lot of these books, Babysitter Club, Pony Pals, I think Saddle Club too, they'll have special edition books. And they'll say right on them, super special or special edition. So they got $89 on auction for these books. Again, I probably wouldn't, I don't usually auction my books. I figure out a good starting price and put that on it. So this is another one. Again, you know, because a lot of times if you're at a garage sale, the child or the adult reading these books might have a whole bunch because they really, really like them. And so they've collected them over the years and now they're ready to part with them. So it might be easy to swoop in and get a whole bunch of them together. Okay. The Animorphs, just like the Goosebumps, these are very popular. I think they're probably out of print too. So they had 66 total. Some of them are extras. So, you know, some of these books, they'll have the main book, but they might do a different version of it. So they got $218 for this set of books.
Okay, can we start from the beginning? I'm back now.
Sure.
Sorry, everybody. I'm back, and I took care of I had a pee-pee for a long time.
Oh, TMI. So anyway, finding these sets of books now, if you went into a thrift store and you saw this whole set, you'd pay probably too much for them. But you still want to check eBay while you're there in the store. Add up, how much is it going to cost me to buy this whole set? But do specifically look at garage sales or even maybe flea markets if you go to those, and estate sales. Okay. This is fun because I never know what's coming up next. Alice in Bibleland. My kids had this set when they were little. It's a by Grolier, and I'm pretty sure it was you had to buy each book, order it to get the whole complete set. So somehow we got them. And I've never, since my kids were little, seen a complete set together. I think right now we have 5. I think I found 5 or 10 of them at a Savers recently. I probably paid too much, but so they got $149 for the whole set. And so there's another one where if you walked in, I mean, I get the biggest rush when I walk into a garage sale or even a thrift store and the whole set's sitting right there because you can see how easy they are to find. And I've even, maybe sometimes if their price is too much, I put them together for the thrift store because I can't stand it when they're all over.
Hey, Deb, when I go into Savers, especially the big one here on Trop and Eastern, they actually try and section off the religious books into their own section. Is that what you find as a norm?
Well, with the kids are usually with the kids.
So the kids aren't sectioned off. You'll just find the religious kids within the regular kids.
Yeah, usually. Okay. But you know, each store is different because we have a Savers here in Vacaville. But yeah, I always find them kids with kids. But always check both areas because, you know, even if you're not looking to sell Bibles or whatever, there's a lot of religious books. The Uncle Arthur's could be with the religion. I'm trying to think of some others. That one I just showed you. So yeah, you always want to check both areas. Okay, the Happy Hollisters. This was fun. One of our lifeguards, Angela Ritchie, messaged me, I think it was yesterday, a picture of this Mystery of the Midnight Trolls because she found one in a book lot the other day. That one there sold for $96. Now on the bottom half of this screen is our current listing. Doggone it, we don't have that book, The Trolls, because when I researched them, I said, oh man, this book, The Trolls, looks like it's going for a lot of money. So our set is listed, I think, for $29.99. We have 6. It hasn't sold yet. But so you want to look for the Happy Hollisters. So this is a great example of how you might come across a set of books. Oh, the Happy Hollisters, and you get all excited. The ones you're finding aren't worth that much, but there might be 1, 2, or 3 in the set that people will pay more money for. So you always want to do your research when you're out there looking around and find out, do I have a good one here? And so now that's one too that you wouldn't mind paying $10 if you're at a thrift store or somewhere because you know it's going to sell for $96.
Oh yeah.
And these have, I believe those are dust jackets. I think those have dust jackets on them. I'm trying to remember our set. Sometimes kids' books will have dust jackets. And, you know, dust jackets can make the book worth more money because most people throw them away, especially with older books. The dust jackets are gone. So when you have that dust jacket, it can really add value to it.
It's funny because people in the chat are saying they love Happy Hollisters. I have never heard of this set of books until right in a second.
Yeah,
Mom, how come we didn't have these books?
Okay, so this is our book. I put the word dud there. It's a set of books. I've had them, gosh, I think I've had them listed 3 separate times over like 2 or 3 years. They're just not selling. They're weekly reader books, and they all say weekly reader on the back, and some of those can be worth a lot of money. So we just keep relisting. I probably need to come down with my price, but they're little books. They're not too big. I just think they're cute and they're great stories, but some books just aren't going to sell for what we want. Okay. This is the long winter, Laura Ingalls Wilder. We all know she wrote Little House. So I was surprised. This book sold for $79.99. It's a 1940. And you can see the picture there. It shows all the information. When it was printed, where it was printed. So you always want to include a picture of that to verify, because I have come across books that were sold and it claimed it was first edition. And then I looked through, you know, they have a picture of this and it was not a first edition. So you have to, yeah, you got to, well, a lot of people think, oh, it's the first edition. And also, this is a good example. A lot of times I see a lot of books in our library that are older. And I guess maybe I'm kind of a lazy book sourcer. I don't know, but I just kind of roll my eyes because they're usually not worth much. Now, children's, if you see vintage children's books, they might be kind of ratty. They're kind of worn. If it's older looking, please check it because it could be worth money. But then when you get into novels and classics that are vintage, unless it is a first edition, that they are out there, most of them aren't worth, you know, worth any money, but children's books can be. Oh, okay. On Top of Concord Hill. This is part of the Little House series. That's a prequel. I've only found it once. And back years ago when I did find that one, I think I sold it for $48. This one's 25 on a bid. So sometimes over the years, as more sellers start selling books, more people find things that, you know, that does change the price. I swear, books prices can fluctuate like the stock market. And I'll show you some examples as we go on. So that's a good one to keep an eye out for. And then my book house. I've sold several sets of these. I have partial sets in my profit pile right now. 12 volumes, sold for $50. This used to be about a $85 or $90 set. Prices, you know, and different times of the year too, because let's see, going into May. Homeschoolers typically about June, July, start shopping for their curriculum and their books for next year. And I've learned this over the years. I may put some books up in August or September and they don't sell because the homeschool moms have already shopped. And they're the ones typically that are buying a lot of these books. So that's easy to identify.
And I don't know if you address this, but is homeschool keywords you use in the title ever?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume so, but I thought I'd just check.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that. And you can.
Did I jump ahead? I'm sorry.
No. It's okay. Now, this is a vintage set of my book house. And this one sold for $49.95. I've sold some of the vintage sets, maybe even more than this. So you this set's not as pretty, it's not as noticeable, but once you identify it, you see it. If you saw all those books together, I would hope you would go over and check them out and think, well, good, here's a lot, here's a set of books together. So this is a vintage set. It's just a classic. The illustrations are great in them. And there's some, we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but homeschool curriculums, they have lists, and sometimes they'll have a book set on a list. So everybody wants those books because they've been suggested to read those books. So, okay, next. And then we have our ABC, Sesame Street board puzzles. When it's all laid out on the floor, it all fits together and makes a great big puzzle. And I've sold a lot of sets of these little guys. In fact, I looked on my profit pile bookcase upstairs, and I think I have 25 of these right now because I pick these up whenever I run across them. Only a few times have I actually found a whole set. And a lot of these books will sell for more money on Amazon if you want to merchant fulfill or if you want to, FBA. And I've also bought one book if I needed one. Now, the reason why I collect them too and hang on to them is these can come with a lot of teeth marks because they're baby board books. So they might be all chewed up. It's like, yuck.
Oh, I never thought of teeth marks. That's funny.
Yeah.
Robert Johnson wants to know, can you explain first edition?
Yeah. We can talk about a lot.
Yes, but I'm not going to. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah, I can. I mean, typically, what you really want when you open a book and it says right on it, first edition, you know. And then there's first edition, first printing. And we'll talk about this a little bit later too, the number line. Now, when you get into the vintage older books, like Debbie in the chat was asking earlier, sometimes they didn't specify first edition. So you have to do your research and look on Google, look on eBay, and try to find that book and see, is this a true first edition? Because it's hard. There's a lot of books out there that you really don't know. Is it seriously really a first edition? Because people think it is. You might have a first edition second printing, and that's not the same thing as a first. So when we're lucky and we open the book up and it says right in it, first edition, that's great. So sometimes you have to do some research. And that's where I get, you know, when you're talking serious collectible books, that's something that you really want to learn and study, because that can be very time consuming.
And then in the switch between me and Stacy, Sabrina had asked, is this auction or buy it now? But I don't know what she asked it to.
Oh,
so
okay.
Sabrina, if you can remember, Debbie will be happy to answer. But
Yeah.
that's by the time we've got to this point, we don't know where that went to. And then Angela's got a great question. Do you have any source, or do you know of a source to find out what books are being suggested for homeschool curriculums?
Yes. If you go on, and I'm in a few slides down, we'll talk a little bit more about this.
Angela, we're jumping ahead, you and I. Okay, we'll wait till we get to it then. No worries. All right.
Okay, so we can go on now. Okay, now look at this. Look at this. They sold a complete set of Sesame Street books for $3.99 on auction. I was so sad because I didn't get these. So I'm only showing 6 because of the way they had their pictures. This was a complete set of the books I just showed you that can sell for $50, $60, and they only got $3.99 on a bid. So
I see that in Tiki Mugs all the time, like you, usually after the fact that I'm bummed, but you can source very well on eBay.
Yeah, I need to start paying more attention to this, because after the research I've seen for doing this webinar, I was like, whoa, what am I thinking? Now, this is a 1962 Golden Book Encyclopedia set, Natural Science. They got $143. And this is a kind of thing that is pretty easy to find at estate sales. You know, you go into someone's house, maybe in their basement or their garage, and they'd have these books around. So keeping an eye out, and they're pretty, you know, they're easy to spot because you have that repetition of all the titles and everything. So that's a kids encyclopedia set that sold for $143. Now, I've sold several of this set. This is the 1988 Golden Book Encyclopedia. I don't know if they still do it. There's a curriculum. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I came across it and I forgot it already, but she recommends that people buy this set of books for their kids. So the price is a little low on this one, $34.99. I've sold them for about $80, $90. I've sold sets of these on Amazon. So I keep an eye out for these. And again, if I find a few, I'll pick them up, because I might find a set later that I need to trade some books out. Maybe some pages are ripped out, or the book's not in very good condition. So that's another one to keep an eye out for. Like, the price is kind of low right now, and this had free shipping on it even. But then again, if someone puts a price of $34.99 and someone buys it, we come along and think that's all it's worth. But it's not. You know, you can obviously probably get more money for it. This is one that was surprising. I've never heard or seen. Little House of Their Own, $72.95 this book sold for. And this, wow, again, Little House prequel, just like On Top of Concord Hill. So there are some gems that are out there. You know, you're just going along and kind of ask yourself, you know, if you haven't seen a book, that's what I do obviously, like with CDs and things. If it's using somebody I've never heard of, I'll check it out. So definitely keep an eye on these. Celia Wilkins is the author, and it's the prequel to The Little House. And I think they run limited edition of these. That's why there was so much money.
You know, one thing I want to point out too, this isn't your listing, right, Deb?
No.
When you write titles, do not add extra punctuation that isn't needed. These parentheses, because what happens, parentheses, quotes, dashes, semicolons, if they're not needed, it tells search engines to pause or stop looking. And so when some people who search this through Google show up at your door, you might lose out if you keep adding punctuation. So make sure, I mean, if you're writing the word don't, of course, put in DON apostrophe T, but don't throw in parentheses for no reason.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even use the word buy. by the author. And sometimes if I'm saving space, I won't put the author's first name in, because most people refer to authors, by their last name. Okay, then we get into the Magic Treehouse. I've sold a lot of these over the years. They don't seem to go for quite as much money as they used to, but they got $80 for a set of 50 of them. And then you'll see in the listing on the bottom, it uses the word core. There are core lists out there, and you can Google and find out about it. I think it's probably part of the Common Core education system. So these are recommended to be read. And there's also they could be hardback or paperback, but they're guides. So each one of the Magic Treehouse has guides, a guidebook that goes with it. It kind of makes it more of like a little complete set, just those two books together. And if you find a bunch of those are good, or put them together. So like the space book is going to have a guidebook for space. They all have a guidebook. They're supposed to all have a guidebook. So that's another good homeschool group, homeschool set, or all kids love history, and it just makes them really easy to read. So these are very well known, but do keep an eye out for these. Now here, this talks about accelerator readers, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade AR series chapter books. So there are lists that you can Google and find out about, and they will say, and some books have, I think they have a marking on them, like AR, and so you'll know what group number it is. So this person may have picked all these books up. Maybe they were their own. $33.99 for 31 books doesn't sound like a very good deal. But if you picked all these up for $2 or $3 somewhere, or at a bag sale, then that's pretty good money. So learning what kind of books kids are looking for, I don't know if it's a school system that sets up what these accelerated readers. So that's another thing to become familiar with, because if you find a whole bunch of books on a really cheap deal somewhere and can sort them out and put a whole group together saying, okay, this is the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, then that helps parents come along and buy them. And they might pay more for them because it's all together, one big set for them. They don't have to go out and look for each book. Okay.
Oh, Charlotte's Web.
Look at this book, First, sold for $525. Now, you can see there, someone was asking about first, it actually states first edition. And I don't know the IB code. There's different, when you get into vintage and collectibles and first editions, it's a whole mind-boggling situation. It's not just cut and dry. So that IB could be a specific, obviously, type of code, which could make that book worth some more money. But the first editions, they are out there, and that's, with the dust jacket, and it's just a gorgeous little book for $525.
That is awesome. That alone would make me start paying more attention in the kids section.
Yes, definitely. Okay, Dr. Seuss. They don't seem to be going quite as much as they used to, but whenever I find a set of those, I will sell them. So they got $28 with free shipping for that bunch of them there. And there are some individually. You guys need that pirate book in your pirate bathroom.
No kidding.
I've sold that book before. My copy was really ratty, and I still think I got $25. So $21.99 just for the Pirates book. So when you do see a whole bunch of Dr. Seuss, don't assume that they're all $1 or $2 books. Check them out. Years ago, we were taking our family to Lake Tahoe. It was our son's 21st birthday, and he wanted to be with us. So we rented a boat. And we were, saving up the money for it. My daughter went out the garage in my profit pile and started scanning away. And there was a Disney book. It's about a penguin. And she brought that book in. It was like a $62 book. So, and the whole other books in that series aren't worth that much. So always be really careful to check. Now, obviously, we all know 10 Apples on Top, Hop on Pop, Cat in the Hat. Those, of course, a first edition of those is going to be worth money. But I've never seen, except the one time, Look Out for Pirates. So in each of these types of kids' books, there's usually a book that's kind of different. Maybe they don't print as many that you might not be familiar with. So you definitely want to pay attention to what you have. Okay. Little golden books. I don't really get into collecting and checking. I know that there is a alphabet. If you open the book and inside the back, maybe an A might, I don't pay attention to it too much. A might specify first edition. So there is a code. There are a way to tell when you have first edition little golden books. So they got $160 for $147. Now, if you paid $1 each, that was no good.
I know. Now, if you were my mother and you paid a quarter each,
possibly.
a little better.
Yeah, or if you can get a whole bunch of them, somebody's selling a whole big old bunch of a whole tote of them, because people do. They'll throw a bunch of books in a tote and sell them. So I just kind of threw that in there so we could talk about the little golden books. Okay, and then here are miniature little golden books. I have never seen this many in one spot.
Wow.
Maybe I've seen a couple of them, but they got $511 for 71 of these. Now, if I was out before I saw this, if I was out and came across some, I probably would think no big deal. Of course, like I say, when I see a whole bunch of something together, then I get a rush, because I think I can make money with this because I have a whole bunch of them. So maybe 3 or 4 of these, I'd probably be like, big deal. So keep your eyes out for miniature little golden books. Okay, these are Caldecott books. They all have a little emblem. I put a picture of the little emblem there. So every year they pick a book that's been out and they award it. There's the Caldecott, and I can't remember the name of the other, or there's another award name. So they got $22 for 8 of these. It's not a lot of money, but again, if you're at a garage sale and you see a whole bunch of books, my husband and I went to a garage sale once, and I think she must have been a teacher. Her whole driveway, I just almost broke out in hives. I was so excited. The whole driveway was loaded with books and curriculum and all kinds of things. So keep an eye out. So this is another way to take a book that might only be a penny book, or maybe sell for $1, put them together because they're based on Caldecott winners. They all have dust jackets. So that's something else to keep an eye out for. Okay, so we'll talk about the homeschool market. And being that I was a homeschool mom, Sunlight is a curriculum company, Abeka, Bob Jones University, and there's a lot more. So Sunlight, if you go to their website, you should be able to look in they have their catalog online, and you can see books that they sell. Now they do have packages of curriculum, and we actually have some online of their courses that we picked up that are on. We have some on eBay right now. But books, a lot of books. So you can go in and make have a list of, they want you to read these books for history. They want you to read these books for science. They want you to read these books for your Bible study. And then if you came across those, you could put the word Sunlight in your title. Abeka's kind of the same way. Now, Abeka and Bob Jones, their books are more published by them. Sunlight has some published, but these books are more published, so they'll say Abeka or Bob Jones University on them. And so you can look those up on eBay very easily by that, or go to their website. But they're used, so you're not going to get the same price. Their website's going to be new versus eBay. And over the years, because geez, my youngest graduated, I forget how many years ago. a lot has changed, because they come out with new, especially Abeka, Bob Jones, they'll come out with newer editions. Saxon Math is another good one. We used to look for Saxon Math books all the time because they were worth a lot of money. Then they republish. So when you come across something that you think is a homeschool, or you happen to go to a garage sale and obviously the mom says, yeah, I homeschooled my kids, you can really stop and check out what she has. Some of it might be old and people don't want it, but there are also moms out there that really can't afford to get the latest, greatest curriculum. So there's still a market there. So, okay, we'll talk a bit more about that. Now this book, see, you got homeschool in the title, like you were asking. Now these books are all a series, If You Lived at the Time. There's Martin Luther King, there's the Underground Railroad, the San Francisco Fire. So they got $29 for these 13 books. Hopefully, maybe they got the whole set for like $5. I don't know. So there's where you can see history books are great for homeschoolers, science books, literature. I use homeschool a lot if I really feel like it's something that homeschool moms or kids would, it's educational. All right. And then again, the homeschool market. Now here's another, you see the word Sunlight, Core D. I don't know if that is maybe something that they use, but these are Advanced Readers Homeschool American History. 38 books, I got $150 for those. And it's possible that there is some specific Sunlight curriculum in there that they published that goes along with these, because a lot of times you have a mom's guide or a teacher's guide, and then it will list all the books that they want you to read. So picking up some of the better history books and things, if you really want to take the time to study what Sunlight's offering, they want people to read, and then you can come along those books and pick them up dirt cheap. Then you can put a nice bundle together for homeschoolers.
Whoa, that's a lot of books.
I know. That's a lot of
Holy
money.
crap, $1,800?
Yes. I love these books, landmarks. I used to sell the landmarks, and you could come across a couple. They're great books for kids and for school. So I was pretty blown away. There's 153 of them, and they say they're rare. You know, people use that word rare a lot, and then you see everybody else is selling them. So I'm really familiar with the landmark books. I've never seen this many together. I didn't even know they made that many. So it's another thing to keep your eye out when you're out. Oh, it's a landmark book. And it's very easy to distinguish. It's marked. And I think there's some kind of little symbol. I forget what it looks like. So they're easy to identify. So if you happen to walk along and you see, well, someone's selling 20 landmark books for $10, I would definitely buy them, because you could probably do pretty well with those. And then this is another type of landmark book. The others probably had their dust jackets. These may have lost their dust jackets or didn't come with them. So they got $31 for 8 of them. So they didn't use the word homeschool in theirs. They have classic children's books. They have landmark, but they use the word books twice. Don't use the word books twice in your title.
And a lot of commas.
Yeah.
You're right. That's just wasted words. I mean, there's only one word I ever use multiple times, as when I'm selling a Tiki Farm tiki mug, because I do find it reads better. But here you didn't need books twice, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I'm always, like I tell my husband, we do listings, he does our listings and things, and people, you have to kind of think each keyword, it's like a key opening up your availability to buyers. And if you have books twice, you don't need that. They put solid. I really don't know what a solid book means.
Well, I'm guessing they mean like the spine's tight and
right.
It's not like, loose and floppy.
Yeah. And then they got the ampersand in there. You just, like you said, keep your commas and everything out. So anyway, it's not a huge moneymaker, but if you happen to pick these up, or somebody gives you some, hey, you sell on eBay, you want these books? Sure, I'll take these, sell them for $31 all day long. So, okay. Now this is an example. This is a Becca, and it is a homeschool curriculum, and they are all marked. A Becca, they publish them. So $449, it's first grade. So you might luck out and come across a whole set together, maybe at your thrift store. And I would think, towards the end of the school year, because a lot of people, I've seen a lot at my thrift store, and they were older. I think I know the mom that probably donated them. So you do kind of want to check, is this current? And that's pretty easy to do on a Becca's website. But homeschool is big, and it continues to grow, thankfully. So they need their curriculum.
They sure do.
Yep. Okay, Story of Civilization. We have sold quite a few sets of these. The ones with the dust jackets are still better, and they're beautiful. They're bright, and they're easy to spot. This set didn't have any. I got this in a bag sale at our library book sale, and I had kind of given up on these books because they were starting to sell for like $30. And I think, again, it's a time of the year kind of thing, because it's a great set for homeschoolers, and we didn't even put the word in there. So we got $105 for this set of books. Blew my mind. I told my husband I'd be happy to get $30 for them, but we had the 2 additional in there, and that's could be why we got more for them. So this Story of Civilization, I'm trying to think of what the author's name is. Oh, Durant. Is it Durant?
Will Durant.
Will Durant. So if you come across these, they're older, obviously. I don't think they publish them anymore, but if you do see the ones with the dust jackets, they're pretty. They're white, and the color, the title is in bright colors. They're easy to spot, and you get them for a good price. Pick those up. They are heavy, though. We charge $27 for media mail shipping. Oh, ready?
I said you mean have your spouse pick them up. Here, carry these.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to go in at least 2 boxes. And we state in our listing, due to weight, this set of books will ship in 2 or more boxes. So we, because you're only allowed 70 pounds on an eBay media mail label anyway. Okay, so you want to do a search on eBay. You have children's books, and then you're going to pick the category of books, and then you want to pick shipping plus highest first. And I really encourage you, spend some time looking. Just in the time I was researching for this, I was blown away at some of the things that I've seen. And you definitely want to look for the collectibles, and then you'll see some sets when people put them together. So that's homework for you. Okay.
So what do you guys think about, Deb, when we were talking about the homeschooling? And I thought about doing this as a webinar, like but I think I'm gonna do the homework first. Is for those that have never done this, is to place some ads on Craigslist and maybe Marketplace, and say, "Hey, your kid's done with homeschool. I'm looking to buy homeschooling books."
Ooh,
or I would put an ad for CDs and records and tiki stuff. And I've seen other friends have great success with it. So what I think I'll do is I'll craft like a pre-homework, have everyone give it a whirl, and then I'll do it too, obviously at the same time, and see how my results are. And then we can all kind of get back together and talk about it, because that's another way to source.
Yeah, it's a great idea, because it's free. But of course, as a homeschool mom, my first thought was, no way, I'm selling my homeschool curriculum because I need the money. But yeah, if people, because I know to sell it, but yeah, and people who maybe they just don't want to mess with it. So I think it's a great idea. Check it out, because you never know. And moms who don't have time to sell on eBay, they might be happy to sell you all their stuff for $100. You can turn around and sell it for $500.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now we'll go and look at some adult books. I don't mean like dirty adult books. When I did that, I actually saw a romance set that was, I forget what's that word. I forget the word. What's that word for sexy, erotic kind of romance books. I was like, wow, those are out there. Okay, so go to the next slide, please. Okay, guess what? We sold this, I think, during the night. This To Kill a Mockingbird, first edition, 13th printing, 1960, for $139. And I had an international sale because it's going to Canada. I don't know if it came with a dust jack originally, but you can see I included, in my listing, I included the picture from the page. Now that W, I forget what it means, but through my research, when I was looking this book up on eBay, I'm like, why are some of these books selling for this much? Because the same book, it wasn't without that W. And I forget, I looked it up, I can't remember what it means. But sometimes there will be a code, there will be something special that sets books apart. So, hey, we got $139 for that book. It's exciting.
And perfect timing. Hey, I'm doing a webinar. Oh, sell a good book.
Yeah, I was so surprised. Okay, this is one of my favorite books to find. I have found 3. It's rare, it's hard to find, it's a true story, Disco Bloodbath. I tell everybody to look for this book. They got $91. It's about what I got for mine over the years. It's, again, I was at a garage sale, didn't find anything. I'm walking up the driveway. There's a box of books. I glanced down and I saw the spine, and I grabbed that book. It was that one I think was an ex-library. I paid them their 50 cents, and off I went with my Disco Bloodbath. So keep your eyes open for this book.
Yeah, that's been on my to find list.
Yep. And then Sled Driver. I've sold 3 of these. 2 of them were autographed. And it's a large size, oversized book, but it's real thin. And sadly, when I was working with the library last month, I was so excited. There was a Sled Driver, and I pulled it out, and the whole book was full of mold. I just cried.
Oh.
I just cried. I thought, oh my gosh, this is a minimum of $350 book, and it's all moldy. Oddly enough, we have a friend who is a mechanic on the Sled Driver, so he knows all about it. I even sent him pictures of that book, and I said, do you want any of this? Maybe we could cut pages out of it. And he said, no, he's got his own copy, and he didn't want that moldy old thing. So keep an eye out for this book. Brian Schul lives in California, and I don't know if that's why I find so many of them, but I have found 3 of them and sold them all. And then the next slide, this is a different version of the book. I've never seen this one. That one sold for $285. Of course, our friend has both copies. So that's another one to keep your eyes out. It's shorter, and a little smaller, shorter copy of it. So just drill that into your head, Sled Driver, and look for that book.
Drill it.
Now here's another one that I have never found. I do know a bookseller that years ago said she had this feeling to go to this thrift store at a certain time. And sure enough, she found one for 50 cents. This book has sold for as high as $1,700. Now, it's a investing book from the 90s. You would think it's not worth anything. But it is. But we have to be careful because there are copies out there, and I don't know how they get away with it. They've made like photocopies of the book, and they're selling it for like $100. So you don't want to get involved.
You're finding like a bootleg of this in the thrift store?
No, on eBay.
Oh, on eBay. Oh, geez,
Yeah.
that's even worse. My
Yeah,
God.
I've seen. I'm thinking, how are they doing? I don't know. Maybe it's the publisher that did it. I don't know. But I've been seeing that for several years now. There is another book, similar title, but Klarman is not the author of that book. So if you ever see a book, Margin of Safety, just be happy dancing and grab it, because that's definitely been on my list for years and years. I've never seen one. Okay, here's another set of books. These are Christian books, Grace Chapel Inn. There are 39 of them. They got $165. So why I like lots is if you have an avid reader, you know, maybe you're at a garage sale or something, they're going to want to read every book in the whole set. And they probably have collected them. So something to keep an eye out for, Grace Chapel. And they had free shipping on that one. Okay. The Britannica Great Books of the Western World. Complete set. I didn't count them all up. They got $280.
Count them.
So there's another set of, and you know, you can eyeball those and you can see them. They charge shipping for that one. So that's another thing to keep. You know, you think Britannica, oh, that's outdated, that's old, but it's the classics. The great books are the classics. And that thrift store where I put my hands down on to steady myself, they had, it was called the 5-foot bookshelf. And I could not find a picture of it on eBay to show, but it's actually 5 feet long worth of books. They're the great classics. I forget exact term, but that's something else to keep an eye out for, is the 5-foot bookshelf. And I think the books might have that stamped on them because I've only seen it once. Actually, we went to a garage sale and someone had just bought a set right in front of us. And I was like,
Doesn't that suck?
Oh, I want that.
No.
Yes. Okay, this Japanese wood-fired ceramics. We have a thrift store in town, and I know for a fact that they check everything. You know, pretty much everything. They've even added a whole special section in their thrift store now of all collectibles. But I picked this book up for 50 cents and sold it for $120. It's just a ceramics. You know, I probably would have passed it by, but I scanned it. And so sometimes you kind of start to learn what a good book looks like by the dust jacket. And it wasn't a real big book. It's kind of thin, but hey, got $120 out of it. And then we talk cookbooks.
Hey.
Yay. Love cookbooks. And I think I just focused pretty much on Betty Crocker. This is the infamous pie cover. This book drives me crazy because it can sell for as high as $70. And if you look, there's some for $10. Now, there are different editions. There's I think it's called the Sears. If you look in the inside, I think they call it the Sears edition. It's a 1969. It's a 20th printing, and that's all inside the book when you open it up. So just grab them. I mean, sometimes they're in really good shape. I always look through all the cookbooks for stains. Sometimes they're greasy and grimy. Usually people will still buy them. I try to clean them up and make sure all the pages are there. There's also a binder edition of this, 5-ring binder edition. And then you got to be really careful to make sure all the pages are there, because same with the encyclopedia set. I had a set. I paid my daughter to go through, and she found one page, a whole corner was torn out. Well, that ruins pretty much kind of the whole set. Okay, next.
I think I have one of these laying around. I got to get up and list it.
Yeah, I haven't found one. $79.99 for this old Betty Crocker cookbook. That's a 5-ring binder one too. That's a first edition, second printing, and that's all stated inside the book, so it makes it pretty easy.
All right. Now, all those watching, anyone have this in your kitchen, in your cupboard that you still have for use? Because when I teach classes, I actually talk about this book, and I always have like a third of the class go, oh, yeah, it's in my kitchen.
Wow, I've never seen one. Oh.
I think my mom's got one. See, Susan says, yes, I do. Yep. Sabrina wants to ask a question, and I know the answer, and I'll let you answer. Do you send all these media mail?
Yes. Yeah. Unless sometimes if it's a really expensive book, I might bump it up to
or you know, some books are tiny and thin. You can go for a class. You're just doing a single like pokey little puppy.
Yeah, or if it's expensive and it'll fit in a padded flat rate, then oh, I forgot to add Pokey Little Puppy Tour this class. Okay, this is a 1950 first edition Betty Crocker's picture book. It comes with a little slip cover, sold for $66. This is where I start saying, oh, go raid your granny's kitchen, look in her cupboards and see what cookbooks that she has. I've never seen this. But see, they're all greasy, and sometimes they have stains on them, and a lot of times there's writing. And I just think that's precious because this grandma or whoever had this book all years ago, and they'll write little notes in it or maybe add more of this. So this was our favorite. It just makes them special. Okay. Next.
No, did you really share this because the sold price was $66.60?
Oh, I didn't. I just realized.
You didn't realize that?
No.
You picked that number of the beast, 666?
I know, 666. I missed it. Okay, here's another. Oh, well. Oh, look at this one, 666 too. Did I get the wrong? I wonder if I got the wrong.
Yeah, their 10% off sale from $74 puts everything at $66.60.
Okay, here's another Betty Crocker picture cookbook for $66. So they're different. And there's a lot of other types of cookbooks, but Betty Crocker's pretty easy to find. It's easy to identify. Okay. And then this one, the cookie book. This one's, they got it. It was still shrink wrapped. Sold it for $95. So that's another pretty book. It's easy to identify. So Betty Crocker is still rocking. We're still making money off of her. Okay, now we're going to go into Easton Press. Okay, these are my favorite books. They smell amazing because they're genuine leather. I like to open them up and smell them. We've sold quite a few of these. They have the ribbon. It can be gold or red, and they're accented in 22 karat gold. I included a picture. You can see the edge of the pages, and they're identified inside. When you open it up, it says Easton Press. So it makes it real easy to know that, and they're just gorgeous. They're just beautiful. And some of them have the plates, the name plates. They might be in it. They might be sitting inside, or someone might have written their name on them. So here's some singles. To Kill a Mockingbird. There it is in an Easton Press for $58. Wonderful Wizard of Oz for $44. Another picture of the edge. And these are another book where you get these because you order them from Easton Press and you can make payments on them. Or you might sign up to get, I mean, they're pretty pricey. Yeah, they're pretty pricey books. Okay. This is actually our sale. We sold one for $45. So we do find them. I went into our Savers one day and I picked up like 14 of them. I was just so happy. So keep an eye out. I mean, when you see them, you know that's quality. And if you were to at a state sale and they had a bunch of them, you'd just be drooling. And the sci-fi, they also have sci-fi. Now here's a set of the 100 greatest books. That's what the 5-foot bookshelf is, 100 greatest books. $2,500 they got for those. And then the Astronaut Library, $1,500. They have presidents. They have all kinds of subjects. The Hobbit, I think, Lord of the Rings. So you can go on Eastern Press's website if you want and look at what they're currently selling. Sometimes they have signed copies. Those obviously would go for more. So they're just a dream to find.
Look at that first title, Deb. They got way too many dashes in there.
Oh,
here's what happens if you still don't understand why I tell you not to do that. As of this moment, that first title, set-leather-gilt-illustrated-nf/f, that all became one word.
Oh.
That is one word. That is not 6 separate words. That is not one word. Don't do that, please.
Yep. And more, Eastern Press, 15 volumes of great poetry. They got $299. Like I said, they're expensive books to buy in the first place. And I did sell a set, I forget how many it was, $750 worth a guy bought from me. Here's the complete works of William Shakespeare, 39 volumes. They got $925. So that's another one to drill in your head, Easton Press. Here's the William Faulkner Classics 10 for $490. They're just gorgeous. I know, they're just beautiful. $74 for 2-volume set of the Gettysburg Campaign. I put a lot of them in here because I just love them. And then you go, Franklin Mint Library. There, you'll go to the next. They kind of look like Eastern Press. Sometimes I double check because I'm thinking, oh, is this one? got $1,500 for 100 volumes. We were at a thrift store with Trader Don, our best friend, Trader Don. And I picked up 11 of these Franklins for $1 each and sold them for 120, I think. So they are out there. And there are Franklin library that aren't nice like this. So this is a set of 7, went for $95. But aren't they beautiful? I mean, you would just know, oh, this is a quality book.
And that'd be something easy. If you're not going to look at the whole book section, if you just glance up and down, now that you've seen these, they will definitely stand out amongst regular looking books.
Oh, yeah. Then we go into some Time Life sets. I like these sets. Again, these are books that if you just picked up 1 or 2, it's not worth it. But when you find a whole set of them, this is 28 volume for 150. I've sold a couple sets of these. They come in slipcases. They may not have their slipcases, but okay. Then we have the Old West books. We've sold several sets of these. Now, you'll notice in the title it says there is not a master index. The master index is a tiny little paper pamphlet. It used to sell by itself for $50. Not anymore. Wow. It's only worth about $9 now. So I was always looking for the master index. I've only seen a couple. So these Old West Time Life books are fun. Again, it's a whole, you can't miss them. You know, every once in a while we'll go to the thrift store and there they are. This is the Seafarer's History, 22 volumes for $194. I think it's $104. So just kind of, you start to identify these, and when you can pick that whole set up for maybe $10 at an estate sale, then you're doing good.
And I love this opening picture too. You don't need to see the front of every book in the opening picture, but man, you can read all the titles real nice. You see the Vikings real nice. I really like that picture. Yeah,
that's nice.
As opposed to these are all just very long, and you know the light's bleeding in. So yeah, much better.
Yeah, so Time Life also has the Enchanted World. Those are nice. They're like mythological type books, and they're more of a matte finish. I've sold a set of those. Another set of the Old West there, Seafarers, just kind of showing you that the sets are out there. We actually had a customer pick up local a set of the Old Western about an hour and a half away. He was going to come, wanted to meet us, but picked us up. We were going to see my family, and I said, "Oh, hey, I can meet you in El Dorado Hills." Met us in the parking lot. He was so happy.
There you go.
Okay, Time Life has Foods of the World. So this is the hardback edition, sold for $147. I gave you kind of, you can see the front. We get a lot of these. We sell a lot of these books. And then the next slide is the spirals. So I put the little key there so you see the word spiral. They're all spiral editions. They got $120 for the whole complete set of 27 of just the spirals. So sometimes you can sell them with the spirals and the hardbacks together. I haven't checked lately, but there was a seller on eBay I think was doing very well. And I think he buys up, like if someone has 1 or 2 and collects them, and then also has a CD that has some kind of recipes on it and sells it as a whole big set. And that's a heavy set, a couple of sets of books too. So I've done that before, just split out my spirals by themselves. Now this is our listing. I got the idea one day because we didn't have a complete set. We put the hardback and the spiral together. We've been selling them at $14.99, and I figure when we're all done, we'll be making as much or more than if we had sold it as one great big old set. So it's been kind of interesting to try something different with the books. Okay. They also have Good cookbooks. I've gone to garage sales and picked these up for 10 cents a piece. It's another one that I collect parts. If I only see 5 or 10 or whatever, I'll collect them and save them until I maybe get close to a set or even sell half of a set. So it's $140 for that 28. Okay, now there's fiction and then there's nonfiction. Nonfiction typically is where the money is. Like I said, the fiction books, I don't even usually look at. I'll scan them really quick. I'm always looking for Disco Bloodbath. Maybe something got in the wrong area. But now sets of books. This is a Karen Kingsbury set, 23 for $50. Another set there for $45. Jeanette Oki. And I'm pretty sure these are church books, Christian books. Jeanette Oki, 38, sold for $99.99, and then more tales from the Grace Chapel there. So sometimes when you walk up and you see, oh wow, look at all these Jeanette Okis. Okay, if I can get all these in a $5 bag, I'll sell them for $100. So, okay, now we'll have some tips. Just some little things that I put together. ISBN. Okay, your you have your barcode, your ISBN, you can scan that. It was created in 1996 and the 10-digit came out in 1997. What a lot of people don't know is if you put in your digits and it doesn't, your ISBN, it doesn't come up, put a 0 in front of it, and now it will register and you can get your price. And then with paperback books, the mass market, you know, those, I'm not sure too much if it's the romance, but a lot of these mass market, if you scan the back, you're going to get a weird book. It's not going to be the right title. So you want to open the book up and scan the barcode inside, and then you'll get your right one. Like, I think this was I don't know why I had this picture, the copyright 1999. Oh, I know why. Copyright 1999. A lot of people go, oh, look, this book was printed in 1999. I got a first edition. 1919. Yeah, 1919. Oh, well, no, because it has an ISBN printed in it. So it had to be published after in the 70s. You know what I mean? So a lot of people will think just because it says 1919 in there, no. Okay. Dust jackets, you probably heard me mention, they are valuable. So it can make a book worth more. And you always want to open it up, because I've opened up the dust jacket and there's dead smash bugs in there. Or
Yummy.
Yeah, or you can see water damage that you didn't see from the outside of the book. So dust jackets are important. Okay. Then we talk about the number line. Here's where we're starting to talk about first edition. Now this, the one on the top, it has full number line, 1 through 10. So that's a first printing, first edition. And then down at the bottom, they can rearrange it. They could go from 10 down to 1, or they can, you know, whatever. But as long as you've got all 10 digits there, you're going to know it's a first printing, first edition. Now the one down there, it's first edition, but it's a third printing. And it specifies that it was a first edition, third printing. And then the number line on the bottom shows, oh, it was printed in 1975, second printing. So it can be tricky when people ask, how do you identify a first edition? Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not, especially when you get into the older collectible books. You got to spend some serious time to find out if I truly have, let's see, Where the Sidewalk Ends, or there's some other books that are very, very, very valuable if you have a true first edition. So if you think you do, sit on it and really try to research and maybe reach out to a professional to find out, is this truly a first edition? Okay. Remainder marks. If you see these books on these marks on any of your books, you cannot list that as a new book, especially on Amazon, but you don't want to do it anywhere. They've been returned to the publisher. They mark them so that people can't buy them and return them back and, you know, get money back. You always want to disclose has remainder marks on it. So they can be little dots, or they can be red or different colors. So always watch for remainder marks. And then I put this in there, you can go back and study the parts of a book. I don't use too much of this. Obviously, I use the spine, front cover, maybe the gutter or the inner hinge is split. In an older book, it's split apart. It's all still together, but there is a split there. The top edge of the head or the edge of the book could have some soiling and stains on it. Oh, okay. Shipping. These are what I use to ship with. Sometimes we'll tissue wrap or bubble, and I always like to put them in Ziploc bags because I live in Washington State for 27 years and it rained 24/7. And if the box is left out in the rain, the book's going to get wet and destroyed. There's two different sizes of the flat rate boxes. I like the long game board because I can get a set of those Uncle Arthur books in that long, large flat rate game board box that I can't get in the other one. Same price, they're both large flat rate, but the way they're made, I can get a set of books in there. And then I typically will print my packing slips. There's a way to do it in eBay without saying eBay on it, because media mail is very, very picky. And I've been very careful with not using my eBay boxes that are stamped eBay that we get for free with our coupon. But more and more I'm hearing other booksellers say they're all using them. They're not having any issues, because I consider that as advertising, and you can't have any advertising when you do a media mailbox. So that's to everybody. And I like to get boxes from Uline, the 200-pound crush boxes. They do cost me about $1.50, but when I'm selling a $50, $60, $100 book, I want to make sure it's not going to get smashed. I have a friend who's actually had the worst luck of getting books on eBay. A lot of times people will just like wrap some thin cardboard around it and then not even put it in a box. And getting that dust jacket that said it was new on their listing and getting it and it's ripped just messes everything up. It's not worth it anymore.
So Sabrina and maybe Debbie Vandermark were having some issues, and I asked, were they watching on TV? Every once in a while when Stacy's at home watching on TV, even though we're still going, it just ends. And I don't know why that happens. So, okay, so came back in. I have no answer for that, and I don't know. Yeah.
Gremlins.
I mean, because you can, per YouTube's standards, you can go for 8 straight hours. I never will. Oh, Sabrina's on a monitor. That's so weird. I don't know, Sabrina. I don't have an answer then. So,
okay.
Linda's watching on the big TV. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Oh, wait, yes. This is what Linda's doing for her birthday.
I haven't even told my BFF happy birthday yet.
I know, we were going to call it, but since we're doing the show and she's in the audience, happy birthday.
Oh, and I don't have a balloon for her. Oh,
wait.
I'm going to get that one that we have still.
Wait, I'll do something. Hold on.
I saw it this morning and then I spaced. I was so stressed trying to get my presentation completely together. Here, this screen here is talking about Bestine. That's what I used to clean all my books. The like this black that you can see. I don't know if you can. I don't know if that's probably not gonna come up.
Come back here.
Oh,
you can give me a second to get you on the screen.
Oh,
there
sorry.
You go.
See that black? That's what libraries mark out their barcodes with, and that Bestine takes that off. It releases the glue on stickers, but I always wear gloves and I use cotton balls because that helps it. And I buy it on Amazon. I used to get it in California at Michael's craft stores, but I think California doesn't allow them to sell it or something. So get it on eBay. Amazon.
Yeah,
for $2.
Undo, which I think is just another form of Bestine.
Yes.
You can't buy Undo in California because it's too bad for the environment.
Yes.
But us lawbreakers in Nevada can.
Undo is an expensive. Bestine is way cheaper than Undo. So if you're buying Undo, you're paying more money. That's why I use the Bestine, and it's just fabulous. Okay. Media mail. What you can and cannot ship. You can ship books, VHS, music, the CDs. I don't know what everything. Oh, medical papers in a binder. I won't even ship. I have things to ship that are in a binder, but I don't risk that. You cannot do comics. You cannot do video games. And you can't do blank CDs. So don't even try, because if they open it and you cheated, they're going to forward it to your buyer at probably a priority rate. So now your buyer's going to get hit with maybe a $13 charge, and they're not going to be happy. And then when you list on eBay, we list these heavy sets of books, you can only go up to 70 pounds for a media mail rate. So you have to say, okay, my set of books weighs 70 pounds. Really? It might weigh 80. You have to figure out that extra $10, 10 pounds worth of media mail and add it to your price, your selling price, if you want to get your money, because you can't go beyond 70 pounds in an eBay listing. All right. And then here's some terms. Oh, I don't know if you can see this. I don't know. See how the corner is kind of rubbed corners. So we look for rubbed or bumped if it's clean, but it's kind of bumped. So I always like to describe that. If there's any soiled pages or edges, highlighting, writing rips, a previous owner's name inside, you want to describe all of that for people, because they can't see the book. You've got the book in your hand, and always be really, really careful with smells. Oh my gosh. I have Vincent Price has a cookbook that sells pretty well, but the whole book smells like it's been sitting in a basement. So I've been airing it out, trying to see if I could save that book. Okay.
Stacey said maybe Vincent Price wanted to smell like that. So Chris said 70 pounds was the limit for period for media on eBay?
The post office says 70 pounds is the max.
Okay.
So when you go to put your weight in, it's going to say, you can't do this on your eBay listing, because they must know that 70 pounds is the max. So we figured that out one day, and we're like, okay, we'll just add $5 to our asking price. Alrighty. Do I have one more? I have a bunch of notes. Do we have another slide?
Yep, I'm on it.
Oh, this one. Okay, sorry. So here's some resources. The Independent Online Bookseller Association, IOBA.org, booksellfinder.com, or booksellfinder.com. to go. We talked about that on the show. If you want to go and find out where there's book sales going on, maybe you're going to go traveling. And hey, there's some huge sales. I mean, they say on them huge. And then bookfinder.com, you can go in there and maybe find some prices on books or a book you're looking for. Maybe you can't find it on eBay or anywhere, but go in there and put your information in. And then real quick, I'm going to run off some names. All day when I was working on this presentation, I kept trying to put in children's picture books, and it wouldn't come up. So your homework is to go to eBay and search picture books children's. Put the children's, and I think I used the apostrophe. Go there and just start looking at all the solds and the fabulous books. There's one I forgot to mention, the tall make-believe book, $250 for a thin children's book that I've been looking for forever. The Sugar Mouse Cake sells for $75. Billy's Picture Book, it's a little horse book, and it's written by the people that wrote Curious George, $229. So if you go and spend some time researching on eBay for solds, and you will find out there's a lot of money. And again, like I said earlier, when you're looking through children's, you're at a garage sale, you're anywhere. If you see an older vintage book and it looks kind of ratty, kind of faded or whatever, check it out, because it could be worth a lot of money. And then I was going to show you, we sold this set just before the show tonight. It's 44 ex-library little kids chapter books. Look how ratty they are. I didn't even clean them because it was just too much work. I usually peel off all the labels if it's an expensive set of book. I spend too much time cleaning books. And we sold 44 of these for $29, which isn't a lot of money, but it was all in a $5 bag sale. So even though they're ugly and ratty, people will still buy them.
So Debbie Vandermark has a question. What about if the book has a trade standard book number? I don't know what the hell that means.
I think that was before ISBNs.
Okay.
Probably trade. And there's another one, the Library of Congress. Years ago, when I first started, there was a way for me to scan and find out what those are. So the Library of Congress might be the only number in a book. Before it was ISBN. So the trade, I think, is like the mass market. I think trade is maybe a lower quality public. I'm not really sure, because I've seen it in books too.
So what's to finish on? What's the either for you or for the library? What's the most expensive book you've ever sold?
Oh,
and I'm just throwing her a curveball, so she knew that was coming. So.
Well, I sold this set of Eastern Press for $750. I don't know if I've sold anything more expensive than that. I keep thinking
Sled Driver.
Oh, well, Sled Driver. But that wasn't, I still sold that Eastern Press for $750. So Sled Driver. I think that's probably the most expensive.
Right.
I don't think I've sold anything more than that. And I do want to, encourage people, find some books, some friends at the library book sales in your area. They are wild. People get crazy. When I was working at ours once, I had to call a guy in because I had two guys about to fight over a box of what it was one person's boxes of books, and the other guy was digging in them. So there's a lot of books that are out there.
Angela has the inverse question. What's the most you ever paid for a book to flip?
Ooh, I'm cheap. Probably not very much. I'm just trying to think if I've ever came across anything that
I bought $50 CDs, but I flipped them for $250.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever done that because I'm always shopping at garage sales and thrift stores and book sales. So maybe for a set of books, I might have paid $20, but no, I haven't.
Oh my God, the filter, the filters on YouTube are so tight. The screws are so tight that Vera said, "I think I sold a modern library Moby Dick for $100, and it made us because it said the word dick in it." You naughty girl, Vera. You naughty girl. And it's so funny to me that the things that they think is bad.
Yeah, and always feel free to reach out to me. I mean, I'm not an expert in the vintage, the collectibles and things, but if anybody ever has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask me, hey, what do I do with this, or what is this?
Don't apologize, Vera. That's just YouTube being screwy.
Well, I was going to give a kind of a warning too. I haven't been selling on Amazon very much. I quit FBA because their fees and everything got so expensive that I was just, and eBay is so faithful to sell my books for me. But there's some issues with with textbooks lately, especially international. You do not want to sell an international textbook.
So what's the issue? Why?
International, a lot of them are counterfeit. They can be counterfeit.
Oh, wow.
And there's some issues with counterfeit textbooks lately. I know of somebody whose account was suspended recently over a textbook, and they said, I will never sell a textbook again. I know somebody who's, years ago when we had half.com, her international book, the title international, got her suspended on half.com, which suspended her on eBay also because they were connected. So we all went in and put our half.com accounts on permanent vacation. So you just really want to be careful with the word international. Maybe it's an international cookbook. Sometimes the bots are going to pick it up. But be extra, extra careful with textbooks. I mean, we've just sold one. But make sure you know what you have, where it came from, because there's a lot of money in counterfeit textbooks, and Amazon's really, really cracking down.
Yeah, so and that's a good tip. When we start to talk about cassettes, I ran across something that I didn't realize I had bought. It's half bootleg, and I'll just leave it at that. I'll just leave it at that, and then you'll see, and I'll explain it to you better. Debbie, this was awesome. I'm definitely have to go back and rewatch since I was busy taking care of something else. But I want to thank Stacy for filling in for me and running.
Thank you, Stacy.
And running the. Hang on, let me put Stacy on the cam here.
Hey.
Oops! Wait, hang on. I've lost the whole thing. Hold on. I've lost the whole thing. I have way too many screens open today. Usually don't have this many open. There she is.
There's hey, Stacy.
Yay, thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.
And thank you, Debbie, for putting together an amazingly it was funny because Angela said it earlier. When you say the title of the book, you have like this such a sweet tone to your voice when you say it. So you make it even more fun. Because when we go look for these books now and we catch one, we're gonna hear your voice in our head going, oh, yeah. There's the sled book.
Sled driver. Well, there's so much more. You know, we can talk about books for days and days and days, but I just kind of wanted to give you, and what I picked were things that I found. So I didn't want you to say, oh, here's all these fabulous books, but you're not going to find them.
Right, yeah.
They're too rare. So I wanted to try to give you some ideas. And like I said, do your homework. Go to eBay and search Picture Books Children's, and your mind will be blown at what will come up. And you want to do your highest, and even just collectible books. Spend some time looking around, because you never, ever know when you're going to stumble upon a book that is very, very valuable. I haven't, and I've seen tons of books, working with the library book sale, and just because I love books and sourcing. And so, yeah, well, I hope it helped everybody, and feel free to reach out. And sounds great. Don't forget, we have a show Thursday night. Yeah, we got a show Thursday night. And I realized that the seller update came out today, and there's a little bit more to it than the preview we had a month ago. So I started to read it. I was doing some other projects today. So once I get that done, I will be doing a live show. It won't be a Thrifty Business or selling past your expiration. I think I'll just do it straight up. Good. Here's my thoughts. I see good things. I see really good things in protecting sellers. So let me read it all, soak it in, and then I'll put it out for everybody. Okay. Oh, and I'm hearing that some people on the waiting list for eBay Open are getting in. So if anybody's is on the waiting list and you didn't get a ticket, you just might. Cool. All right. Yes, well, thank you, Rocket. And everybody have a great night, and we'll see you around the Secret Beach. Yes, we will. Okay. Bye-bye.